Hi, it's Elise and welcome back to Which Way. Today's witch review, the 90s cult classic, The Craft. Now, my opinion is a little biased on this film as it's one of my all-time favourites. I rewatch it almost every year. Released in 1996 and directed by Andrew Fleming, it stars Robin Tunney as Sarah, Fairuza Balk as Nancy, Rachel True as Rochelle, and Neve Campbell as Bonnie, with a little bit of Skeet Ulrich as Chris. The story follows Sarah, a quote, natural witch, with a haunted past and newly transferred to a Catholic school. Three social outcasts and wannabe witches soon take notice of her.
It's the bitches of Eastwick.
What?
Yeah, whatever you do, stay away from them.
Why?
They're witches.
They connect over witchcraft as their magic awakens. Eventually they start using spells for their own gain, and things get out of hand. Sarah wants out and the girls retaliate. The Craft was a surprise hit, and since its release has gained quite the cult following. Even though they follow the guidelines for a PG-13 rating, the MPAA automatically slapped this film with an R rating. Probably something to do with America's history for hating on witches.
Fuck you.
Gotta love the 90s with 20-somethings portraying high school students, and sign me up for those highly customizable school uniforms. It has an awesome soundtrack. Some of the songs have found their way into my playlist in the links below, including Love Spit Love's cover version of the Smiths song How Soon Is Now, which the Charmed series took on as their opening theme. The acting is great. Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich would go on to star in another 90s cult classic, Scream. Robin Tunney had just finished filming her role in Empire Records, for which she had to shave her head, so she's actually wearing a wig throughout the film. Now I know that, I can't stop looking at her hair in every scene, and now neither will you. But the standout performance here was Fairuza Balk's portrayal of Nancy Downs' descent into power and madness. It's not the first time she's played a witch either. Fairuza played Mildred Hubble in the 1986 movie The Worst Witch, so she's definitely come a long way. While preparing for her role, Nancy frequented the store of panpipes, which she ended up owning for a while. She was actually a practicing Wiccan during the filming process. The filmmakers wanted the rituals portrayed in this film to be as realistic as possible, so found a consultant on Wicca in Pat Devon, a Dianic elder priestess. So most of the rituals portrayed do stem from actual Wiccan practices, though not all witches are Wiccans. Wicca was only really developed in the early 20th century and has many different variations, such as Dianic Wicca, which differs from Wicca in that only the goddesses are honoured. Ironic, since in this film, the deity is known as Manon and referred to as a he. The idea of Manon is introduced early in the films, and he is described as thus.
I mean, it's everything. It's the trees, it's the ground, it's the rocks, it's the moon, it's everything.
Pat Devon didn't want a bunch of teenagers going out and invoking actual deities, so they kept the fictional Manon, which actually started showing up in listings of spiritual beings after the film. In an interview, Pat states, "My goals for the rituals and chants was that they be authentic if generic, and that they contain nothing that could not be easily found in at least 2 books or plausibly created by teenage girls." Which brings me to the initiation ritual. Since there are many different traditions in Wicca, all would vary on their initiation rites, if having any at all, since there are solitary practitioners out there. An initiation will usually include a challenge, an oath, symbolic death and rebirth, and imparting of knowledge. Here we see a challenge and an oath, and a little bit of the Wiccan rede is recited.
With perfect love and perfect trust.
Even sometimes using swords, here we see them using a dagger, which can sometimes be known as an athame. While grounding the blade in the earth, Nancy states,
As above,
So below.
Another Wiccan saying, a phrase adopted from the Emerald Tablet, a cryptic Hermetic text. It can refer to light, dark, physical and spiritual connections, opposite but complementing elements. After the initiation, the girls cast their first spells, placing drops of blood in a cup. Sanitary girls, they each cast their own spell. for love, positivity, beauty, and power. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Blessed be. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Many modern magical traditions use this. It's mostly just wishing good vibes and positivity, or can even be used in greeting. The opening scene sets the vibe of the movie beautifully. We see the girls chanting around their altar, not the last altar you will see in the movie, all of which include a pentagram. Altars are used to hold the various tools and components required for spellcasting. They don't necessarily need to include a pentagram, but Wiccans have adopted this symbol for their religion, each point representing earth, air, fire, water, and spirit.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
Go Planet. Where do they get these components? Well, the local magic shop, of course. A literal fire hazard with all the lit candles, where we meet shop owner and witch Lirio.
You know how to use candles?
Yeah, you light the wick?
Candles are a part of most religions as a form of sympathetic magic, the candle representing an ideal and the act of lighting it bringing to life, or light if you will, their intentions. The girls steal supplies from this shop, which Lirio seems to be aware of, so maybe that's why she held off imparting some important information to the girls. She introduces them to the Wiccan threefold law.
Whatever you send out, you get back ×3.
Lirio also has access to a temple where there is a pentagram mosaic on the ground. There aren't necessarily physical places of worship in Wicca, though I'm sure some do exist. Anywhere they practice is considered sacred. Before casting a spell or ritual, a practitioner may draw a circle on the ground and cleanse the space inside. Here it looks like they're burning sage. The circle then acts to keep out anything from interfering with the spell, raising the power within, and should anything go awry, containing it. Invoking a spirit is when a witch invites a deity inside the aforementioned circle to aid with their power. Led by Nancy, and each representing the cardinal points, elements, and bringing a small animal as offering, Rochelle, West, Water, and Nemo, Bonnie, South, Fire, and an orange butterfly, Sarah, North, Earth, and a bird, and Nancy, East, Air, and a snake, they successfully invoke Manon. You know, because Nancy can now walk on water, just like somebody else. Bird for earth and snake for air doesn't quite make sense, does it? They switched up the animal offerings because they wanted to associate Nancy with snakes. Little clue for what happens later.
You put spells and power thoughts in it, and then you don't let anyone else read it. Ever.
What she's describing is a witch's book of shadows, where they will record personal thoughts, feelings, dreams, spell casting, and other rituals. We also see the girls consulting an almanac.
The almanac says today will bring an arrival of something.
Farmers would usually use almanacs to determine best times for planting and harvesting. A witch's almanac would include Sabbats, astrological signs, and phases of the moon, all best ways to determine when to cast certain spells and rituals. Not all witches are Wiccans, and many witches would keep a book of shadows. Wicca was adapted from many old and pagan religions, so you will see many elements pop up in other crafts as well. So this is where we're going to go into some broader aspects of witchcraft, and some stuff just thrown in for flair. Sarah's power has inadvertently caused her to go deaf for 3 days, or a pipe bursting in her room when she wants rain, plus her cool pencil trick, so she has innate magic. Before Sarah arrives, Bonnie, Nancy, and Rochelle seem to be knowledgeable on witchcraft, but haven't been able to make anything happen until their initiation ritual with Sarah, so their power is possibly imbued, taking from Sarah's own innate magic. In a deleted scene, Sarah is actually seen performing healing on Bonnie, adding to the concept that their power comes from her. Nancy soon becomes jealous, her power taking root in the form of her hatred, causing her jerk stepdad to have a heart attack. Before knowledge of modern medicine, sudden illnesses were usually blamed on a witch, who could also apparently alter their appearance in the form of a glamour.
Glamour. Throwing a glamour, an illusion so real as to fool an onlooker, is one of the oldest forms of magic.
A few other books make an appearance, such as the Book of Black Magic by Arthur E. Waite, titled instead here as Invocations of the Spirit. This symbol apparently the goetic circle of black evocations and pacts used for summoning the devil, so good start. And Nancy is seen reading from the Kabbalah, which contains some occult works, the image on the front representing the Tree of Life. When the girls hang out at sleepovers, they appear to like to watch reruns of the 1960s sitcom Bewitched and play a little game of light as a feather, stiff as a board. Try it. This game can actually work, but not to the extent of the girls' new power. During the witch trials, witches were believed to have the ability to levitate or even fly through the air. Also at these catch-ups, they continue to work on their spells. To help rid Rochelle of her bully, Sarah is seen here braiding Rochelle's hair with a piece of hair taken from said racist bitch. Hair was often used in hoodoo spells, representing a person's essence, and in ancient times it was thought to have magical attributes. In this film, Nancy's hair seems to represent her mental state slowly unraveling throughout the film, so Sarah tries a binding spell. A puppet or a photo can be used and silk thread or ribbon binds it. In some cases the mouth is also sewn shut. No physical harm comes to the person, though it is supposed to restrain them from taking certain actions. Because of this, the young witches then set out against Sarah, and I won't spoil the ending, but let's just say they soon learn that the threefold that Lirio mentions has its merits. This film doesn't necessarily have historical elements, but it does get marks for lore and, obviously, practicing of the craft. Of course, this is a highly Hollywood stylized version of witchcraft, and the girls seem to practice with no care for any deeper spiritual meaning or beliefs.
I mean, who gives a shit?
But at least it represented the Wiccan read, in that there are repercussions for ill intent. We could see a remake in the future. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Actually, I know how I feel about that. Just leave this alone. Released later that same year, the film The Little Witches tried to play off the success of the craft by creating this lovely knockoff poster where they really tried to make the main actress look like Nancy. I have watched it and all I can say is don't. However, I highly recommend the craft. Get it yourself in the links below. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your favourite witch in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe to keep up to date on the Witch Way.
We are the weirdos, mister.